This week, the wheels began to come off this crazy probe of collusion between Trump and Putin that never happened. Two body blows really dismembered the investigation. The first one is that Julian Assange, the head of WikiLeaks, who's currently hiding out in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, said again that the Russians were not involved in the hack of the DNC computer. He said that before, but not for several months, not for about a year. But he reaffirmed it 2 days ago, emphatically and strongly in unambiguous language, and he said that he can prove that they weren't involved and can prove who was involved. Now, this has to be cast in the light of the unfortunate death of Seth Rich. I'm not at all sure that the allegations of murder are accurate, and I'm not going to get into that. But he was a DNC employee who had access to their computers, was one of the people in charge of maintaining their IT technology. And he was a Bernie Sanders loyalist to the core. And the burden of the leaks that emerged from the DNC were not about Trump. They were about Bernie Sanders and Hillary. And they attacked Hillary for biasing the DNC to be a pro-Hillary organ as opposed to neutral, which it ought to be. That, of course, forced the resignation of Debbie Wasserman Schultz as national chairman. But it had very little impact on the election itself. The Sanders people all fell in line and voted for Hillary. But this initial cause, the original sin, if you will, that seemed to motivate the entire thrust of the charge that Russia was trying to help Trump get elected, now is in serious question. And if that's gone, what's left? The second wheel that came off the bus was the statement yesterday of Daniel Hoffman, the retired station chief of the CIA in Moscow, who served for 5 years and retired last month, who said there is no evidence of any collusion between the Russians and the Trump campaign. No evidence. So if the initial impetus for the investigation, which was the hacking of the computer, had nothing to do with the Russians, and if the CIA station chief says that the collusion that was supposed to have taken place subsequently also had nothing to do with the Russians, and in between the key newspaper leak that the FBI overheard Russian intel officials plotting with Trump campaign staffers about the collusion, that has been denied by Comey and disproven. It was a total fabrication. What's left to hold the bus up? And I think that really the wheels are coming off this entire thing. The phoniness of it and the deep state plotting behind it, which is really more than just this particular episode, it's a lesson in the landscape of modern American politics, is really the theme of our book, Rogue Spooks, The Intelligence War on Donald Trump. Everything is at stake in this. If Donald Trump is ousted from office over this stuff, it really means that the deep state runs the country. And every president of the United States, after the election, will look over his shoulder, just like a South American president, to be sure the military isn't coming for him, or in this case, the intelligence community and the deep state. See, when Obama took office 8 years ago, the first thing he did was to get rid of almost everybody in the FBI and the CIA and convert these institutions to bastions of liberalism. The FBI, after all, was the main agency that persecuted leftists in the U.S., and the CIA was overthrowing foreign governments that it suspected of being friendly to communists. And when Brennan and Holder and Comey took over those agencies, they fired everybody who was conservative and hired ACLU members. They replaced the guys who interrogated the terrorists with the people who represented the terrorists at Guantanamo as their lawyers. And this 180-degree shift, this paradigm shift in these agencies, meant that the deep state was now firmly embedded with the left and with the liberal media. And that's how this entire plot to frame Trump over this Russian scandal has emerged. And those are the stakes. There were theories that the Kennedy assassination was an inside job because of the CIA resenting that they fired Allen Dulles, and that Kennedy seemed to be moving after the Cuban Missile Crisis toward rapprochement with the Soviet Union, and that the Cold Warriors felt that he had to go and be replaced by a hawk, Lyndon Johnson. I have no idea if that's true or not. But it's the same order of magnitude to what's happening now. The same dismiss the elected government and put the permanent government, the so-called deep state, in full charge. That's what's going on now. So I urge you to get the book, Rogue Spooks, because you really need to understand what's happening to understand what's going on in the United States. Thanks for watching.